What if the breakdown was actually the breakthrough? It's interesting sometimes what words we use to describe an experience in life. A breakdown, just the very word, sounds like something very negative, something that is destructive, something undesirable. And I wonder if we can just reframe that way of thinking, maybe we could just see things differently. So something that has been framed or described as a breakdown, if you could just adjust the thinking a little bit and reframe it as a breakthrough, it just could adjust your mind a little bit to see things in a more positive light. So, I mean, there's many types of breakdown. You could talk about a relationship breakdown, for example, which can be extremely painful, probably one of the most painful experiences that we have as humans. If we've invested a lot into a relationship, if we have loved somebody who has now gone in their own direction, maybe we no longer have contact with them. It could also be maybe a loss of a job or a breakdown of another type of relationship, maybe with a family member or even a friend or a colleague. But when things break down, it's a lesson to ourselves, really, and it's our response that is important, how we respond to that experience that's going to inform us, really, of the true nature of what was going on. So if you have a relationship, for example, which breaks down, if you can think about it in terms of maybe there were things going on in the relationship that you weren't aware of, or maybe you were the one putting more effort into the relationship than the other person, or maybe, if you're honest, it hadn't been working for a while. Maybe you'd been trying to make something work that actually wasn't working for you, or maybe it was only working for one person in the relationship. So this could be seen as a breakdown, but could it also be seen as a breakthrough in terms of breaking through something which needed to be opened up? So you could think of it as a seed, for example. If you look at a seed, it looks dead. It looks like there's no life in there. But when you plant the seed, when you give it soil and water and the environment it needs, actually it starts to grow into something new. But in order to do that, the shell needs to be broken through. So the new life breaks through the shell and then it starts to grow into something new. And it's this breaking through that needs to be allowed. You know, if you took a seed and you never planted it, you just kept it in a packet or in a drawer somewhere or a cupboard and never gave it the environment it needs to grow, nothing's going to happen to that seed. In fact, it will probably die, and the life that could have sprung out of it will never happen. So the breakthrough might be painful, it might be difficult, it may feel undesirable, but that breakthrough is needed in order to bring something new into existence. So when we think of breaking down, you could also think of the cycle of life in terms of the way that plants grow. You know, like it's spring at the moment, it's almost summer. So life is springing into life, many plants are springing into life, but we know that many of them will also die because that's just the nature of the cycle of life. But those plants that die can be turned into compost, which can be used to grow something new next year. So that's another sort of way of looking at a breakdown. It is part of a cycle of life that things will die in order for new things to come into existence. So yeah, if this resonates with you and if you've experienced a breakdown, I just encourage you to think about, firstly, that cycle of life in terms of things breaking down and new things springing into life. And this is, you know, a cycle which happens throughout the year, so it might not be something that happens overnight or even within a week or a month. It may take time. And secondly, maybe instead of using the word breakdown, what if we use the word breakthrough? How would that change our perspective? How would that help us to see things more positively? and to have hope in something that seems very destructive, to have hope that actually there is something positive coming. It may take time, it may take effort, it may take a lot of tears and sweat and blood, maybe, but to have that hope and belief that something new, something better is coming.